What's going on, guys? Pick 6 or Anton back and giving you sort of a tutorial, not so much a tutorial because it's not as in-depth, but what I wanted to talk about was chopper gunning strategies, being the gunner in the chopper. Some people will see this and say, oh, it's just point and shoot, what's there to know? But honestly, I think that's the dead wrong approach. I think it's a very ignorant approach. There's quite a bit of information you need to know to become good being the gunner, especially if you're new, because all information helps. Because the gunner helps your teammate pilot stay in the sky as much as creates a lot of hell for your opponent. The obvious and most effective strategy is when you're the gunner to communicate with a good pilot. But this video will give you tips on getting lots of kills and being effective in the chopper, assuming that you don't know the pilot or the pilot just doesn't want to talk to you. Just gunning on your own, basically. A lot of people have zero clue what to do when they're playing as the gunner, and trust me on this, as simple as it seems, a lot of the guys that have gunned with me, even though I'd consider myself a good pilot and it makes the gunner's job a lot easier, they still don't know what to do. So basically I'm going to talk about tips, strategies, things that will make your life a lot easier getting kills and keeping your chopper in the air. First and foremost, as per my usual tutorials, it's setting up your classes for maximum effectiveness. The first tier is obviously open to debate. Some use stealth, some use auto loader, hoping to unleash as more hell as possible by getting faster reloads. In my case though, I usually almost always use proximity scan. And think about it this way. If your pilot's a low flying type of player, proximity scan will light up all infantry threats on the ground or even tank threats, and you use less time and energy trying to spot everything. If your pilot uses air radar, then almost all possible threats that could possibly be in the map will be on your minimap. So you'll have everything covered. If you know where all your threats are, that's half the battle already. Autoloader helps in some cases, I suppose, on heavy fighting, because being able to reload quick means you'll be able to get in more shots, especially if your pilot's flying quick. But to be honest, I'd prefer knowing where my enemy is and being able to take them out over time rather than being able to reload quick. So that's obviously why I'd be choosing proximity scan. Second tier, you should always use IR flares. Using thermal obviously would be nice because you'd be able to see off anything giving off a heat signature, but IR flares will keep you in the air longer and help your pilot out a ton. In my opinion, it's a necessity. Zoom optics are pretty much useless, especially if you have a good pilot. Many encounters are quick and don't require zoom time at all, or zoom at all. Even if you used zoom, many people in Battlefield can't aim on moving targets anyway, so it'd be pretty much useless. In fact, if I was the pilot and I knew you were choosing anything but IR flares, I probably wouldn't want you in my chopper at all. That's just me. If you don't have them, that's fine, but not choosing them if you have them to me is just unacceptable. Also, having the pilot use ECM jam and you have flares makes it a lot easier to figure out when each person should deploy them, because sometimes in the past I've had miscommunications when we're both using flares. Third tier, again, is preference, but guided missile to me is the best. It's extremely effective on anything on the ground, especially tanks, because it usually brings the tanks close to a one-hit disable. After it makes contact, quickly switch to your gun and you can finish off the threat. One-pass kills usually work, even if you're just the gunner alone, and that's assuming the pilot doesn't actually fire any guided missiles. So, and usually doesn't not shoot them, so a quick pass will do it quite well if you use the guided missile. The TV missile to me is unreliable and difficult to control in my experience, so to be honest, guided missile I think is the right choice here. With regard to strategies, you see that rectangle with the dot in it right below the crosshair that you're looking at on your screen right now? The little dot in that rectangle is where you're currently looking in the gunner's field of view. So see how it's almost dead center, a little bit off to the left? It means that if I keep turning to the left, means that I'm basically going to run out of area to look at turning to the left. But if you keep it in the middle there, you maximize your field of view. You'll be able to see all enemies looking forward. If it's fully to the left or fully to the right, then you have to turn it back to the middle to be able to see everyone. That's an important point to remember. That being said, always anticipate the direction that the chopper will turn. If he's turning left, turn your gun to the left. This keeps it in the middle and keeps you ready for the next encounter. Obviously, being able to communicate with your pilot is a huge benefit here. Use burst fire on longer range targets or when you're moving slow. Firing too quickly on something far away makes you run out of ammo quick and makes you less effective on multiple targets because you're out of ammo. Burst fire is more effective on infantry. Spot as much as possible on everything you see as well, even if you're using the tier 1 and 2 perks for air radar and for proximity scan, because spotting only helps you. Make sure you reload every single time you use your gun, even if you fired all 30 shots or even just one. The last thing you want to do is go into an encounter with 3 shots left and you have to reload. Always target any guy standing still, looking up, or a guy that just fired a stinger, and it leaves a smoke trail so it's easy to track. These are the guys that pose the biggest threat to your chopper, so make sure you deal with them first if you can. Also destroy soft limbs that you see first, and make sure you let your pilot as well if he doesn't see the soft limb. Not destroying them quick is almost certain death by javelin. One more point I'd like to mention as well. As the gunner, you're responsible for creating a ton of chaos, obviously. But keep in mind, it's also great to signal and communicate targets to your pilot, but don't pester him. His responsibility is to balance carnage, but also keeping the both of you alive. You pestering him to chase one tank or one infantry guy when he should be retreating is extremely dumb strategy, only serves to piss him off and distract him. Trust me on this. I mention this because as the pilot most of the time that actually does most of the work himself, I've had gunners that were useless telling me what to do, and trust me, I know what I'm doing. You'll get your kills. Basically, that was the last point I wanted to say. This was not a full in-depth tutorial because, well, as much as I don't want to say it's point and shoot because there is strategy to it, a lot of it actually is point and shoot. The key thing I'd like to emphasize though is communication with your pilot not only keeps you in the air longer, you got more kills, you'll be more effective, you'll be much quicker. So make sure, even if you don't know the person, try to communicate with them, especially if he's in your squad, because you'll make a much more effective duo this way. So, yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say about gunning. Just quick little tips there to help you out. Thanks for watching.